What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about the possibilities of gas prices headed to $10 per gallon. And I want you to be ready because this is something that could actually happen. Now, I'm going to get to all this in just a moment. I will explain why there's many problems that economists say could push gas prices to $10 per gallon. And they also want to show you the flip side of that and why there's actually some good news for gas prices, but it's actually bad news for the American people. So I'll address all that in today's video. All I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's continue. So the other day, I got this question. And the person says, Adam, I've been hearing that gas prices will soon be $10 per gallon. Is this true? And is this true for the entire United States? Well, let's address that. Let's get down to some of the problems. First, here's one of the problems. Oil is headed to $100. And in this article says oil is headed to $100 as China demand and supply concerns extend the crude rally. Just last week, we saw oil surpass $90 a barrel. That's the first time it's done that in a little while. And so that put a lot of people started to question whether or not we're headed in the right direction. Well, guess what? Some say we are not. What we do know is that oil does have some problems. First, OPEC Plus, they have cut oil output production, which means there's more upward pressure on gas prices. China also has an increased demand for oil because now they're really opening back up. The economy is, or so we're told, is doing much better, which again puts more upward pressure on prices for the global market. And then the last thing, and this is one of the reasons why some people believe that if oil really took off and went up to $100 a barrel, went up to 105, went up to 110, or maybe even more, the problem is the United States doesn't have the oil reserves in our strategic petroleum reserve in order to just go and say, hey, we need to take out 10 million barrels to put it into our economy. And so being that we don't have that kind of reserve anymore, that could mean if prices start going up, the U.S. might not have an answer for it. So we got to be aware of this, and this is why some people are saying that $10 per gallon could be happening very soon. But there's some good news. There's some good news regarding gas prices. One of those actually just happened the other day. I actually saw this at one of the local stations, one of the local gas stations. But something that normally happens in September is that many retailers switch from their summer blend to their winter blend fuel. And so for this station, it happened on September 15th, and that's usually when we see it. Other retailers wait until their supply is low, and then they'll finally get the winter blend. But I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what's the difference between a summer blend and a winter blend? Well, the summer blend fuel, it costs more money to actually create. And so it costs more money because they have to get some more of the pollutants out of the fuel. Anyway, it's not the point of this video. But the winter blend is cheaper. So as soon as that retailer goes from their summer blend to their winter blend fuel, it brings the prices of fuel down by like 15 to 30 cents a gallon. So it's actually a pretty big deal. Okay, so this is also good news. That means if we're going to bring it down 30 cents a gallon, that means we're 30 cents farther away from $10, which is good. The other thing is that we also know that due to oil supply, refineries have already announced that in Europe and in the United States that they are less likely to shut down for routine maintenance because they do not want to contribute to that additional supply crunch. Now, here's where things get interesting. Just regarding a potential shutdown for maintenance, is even though these refineries are not going to shut down now, the expectation is they will have to eventually. So even though gas prices might not just surge to $10 a gallon in 2023, the problem is if we continue to see issues for these refineries and they have to shut down last minute, that could be a huge red flag. That could be a major disaster as far as gas prices are concerned. Now, I do want to bring up something else though, because perhaps one of the biggest issues for gas prices is the U.S. economy and the federal government. Now, we have heard from some that gas prices are still too expensive. We should have a federal gas tax holiday. And that would mean that you don't pay the federal gas tax. Was it like 18 cents a gallon or whatever it is? That's what you pay to the federal government. Every time you go and get gas, put gas in your vehicle, you're paying like 18 cents a gallon or 20 cents, whatever it is, to the federal government for every single gallon of gas you get. That's the tax. Well, if we got rid of that federal gas tax, guess what? It would bring gas prices down about 20 cents a gallon. So 20 cents with the 30 cents because of a winter fuel blend. Could that be that 50 cents we need? Maybe. But here's where things get interesting. Right now, the federal government is trying to work out a deal for their 2024 fiscal year federal budget. That has to be negotiated and passed by October 1st, or we risk a government shutdown. And you're probably thinking, well, what does a government shutdown have to do with gas prices? Well, it actually has a lot to do with it. Because we just talked about some lawmakers are asking for a federal gas tax holiday. And it might just be 3 months, 6 months, who knows, right? Maybe a year. But the problem is the negotiations that are happening right now, some lawmakers are asking for additional cuts, which I'll get to in just a moment. So if they're asking for additional cuts to federal spending, then how could we come in and say, okay, we're going to take less money from you, our taxpayer, when you go and put fuel in your vehicle? We're going to take less money there, but we're also going to cut more stuff here. They're making cuts in order to not operate at a deficit like we normally do. Well, this is part of the issue. So if the U.S. government cannot agree on the 2024 the appropriations bills, then the government's going to shut down. Okay? Now, a shutdown, even a short one, would have a negative impact on our economy, and a negative impact would actually push gas prices down. So you're probably thinking, well, is this good? If the U.S. government shuts down, the federal government shuts down, is that good news for gas prices or is it bad news? Well, it's actually good news for gas prices, bad news for the economy, because the economy will struggle. People will be furloughed. Millions of people, millions of workers would be furloughed instantly on October 1st. So, right now, Congress doesn't have a deal. But the problem is that there are multiple people in the House of Representatives that are demanding Speaker Kevin McCarthy does what they ask, or, according to Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he says if the GOP outs him, Biden gets what he wants. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's read a little bit of this article. Okay, I want to read you a little bit of this because I think this is pretty interesting. Yeah, okay, look at this. It says Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Sunday said Sunday that if House Republicans remove him, President Biden will get what he wants. McCarthy has been facing increasing threats from his own conference, particularly from Representative Matt Gaetz, about a motion to vacate, which would effectively be a vote to remove the speaker. He argued Sunday that such a motion would need Democratic support to be successful. He says if you did a motion to vacate, it would have a handful of Republicans with Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Ilhan Omar to remove the speaker, and it would be exactly what the president wants because it would shut down the House. It would. Okay, it would mean no impeachment inquiry, which many people want. Okay, there's multiple investigations that lawmakers want to happen, but as of right now, we just don't know. But here's what we do know. House Republicans have released a short-term bill to avert a government shutdown until October 31st. So it's just a 1 month long bill. That's all it is. And I want to show you, or kind of explain to you what's in it and how this is impacting our economy, but also gas prices. It says right here, the bill would cut domestic spending by 8% with exceptions to military and veterans funding. It includes most of the Secure the Border Act of 2023, a wish list of immigration provisions for GOP hardliners, with the exception of provisions requiring employers to use E-Verify to check immigration status. The legislation has been a big priority from Freedom Caucus members, and while it passed the House in May, the Senate has ignored it. Also goes on to say, notably, the temporary government funding legislation doesn't mention Ukraine aid, and it doesn't have disaster relief, which are two priorities that the White House and many lawmakers have in both parties. So what they're proposing, which would actually extend the government funding for 1 month, what they're proposing is something that as soon as if it passes the House, it would not pass through the Senate. Okay? An 8% spending cut, and then on top of that, you're throwing in the Secure the Border Act. For one, Democrats aren't going to go for that. And two, as far as the no aid for Ukraine and disaster relief, which again is FEMA, that's a major problem. So that's where things are at right now. And again, I bring this up because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the U.S. government's going to shut down. Okay? We don't know if the federal government's going to have money. What we do know is gas prices do have some upward pressure. And if they do have upward pressure and it tightens your wallet, okay, it makes it harder to go and spend and buy food and medication and pay your rent, that becomes very problematic because now you're not paying your bills. You're not looking after your health. Okay? You're living in poverty. All because you got to put fuel in your vehicle. But again, this is when gas prices right now on national average, I can show you that really quick. Okay? According to AAA, the gas price right now, and again, it's not a huge concern, but it's $3.88 a gallon. This is this morning on September 18th. But look at this, okay? It was $3.87 yesterday. A week ago, $3.83. Right here, that was a week ago, okay? So it's gone up 5 cents in just 1 week. That's where some people are saying it's not a huge concern yet, but it could be very soon. So that's where we're at this time. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions regarding gas prices, regarding the U.S. economy, or Congress, let me know. Ask your questions down in the comment section below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.